As we know, investment properties are the value of them are based on the NOI, net operating income. So I want to talk about income for a moment. A lot of property owners, they don't always increase their rents because they really value having kind of stable tenants and they don't want to upset the boat. And that makes a lot of sense. However, they're losing out on a lot of potential value there. So when they go to sell, rents could be $900, but they're only $700. So what are recommendations that you have for property owners for how to, keep the income increasing or going up as it should, but not upsetting the boat too much?
Right. I think a good example that comes to mind is the idea of a frog in a boiling pot of water. You turn the water up gently, you throw the frog into a boiling pot of water right away, it's going to jump right out. So whether it's other owners, other investors I've talked to, they've seen the property and they're like, oh, I can increase rents $150 in 1 year per unit. And they go in there, they start that, and then all of a sudden their property's half vacant, which is a significant problem. The greatest expense you have in property management is vacancy. That's the number one thing you want to tackle. So people are right to be concerned about keeping their units filled. I would challenge that you don't want that concern to inhibit you from pushing rents because, as you said, if you are buying an investment property, one of the things that I like about it versus the sales comparison approach, which can be more subjective, on the investment side, it's an equation. What's the NOI divided by the cap rate? So the better job that you do pushing rents, then you can realize that when you sell the property. So it's making sure that you have a good handle on what the market rents are for the area, what the amenities that go along with those type of rents, and then looking at the tenant background. If you've got, a property where maybe you could be renting it out for $100 more a month, but you have a tenant in there now who's been a great tenant, they pay on time, they take good care of their unit, then maybe you're thinking about a $25 a month increase over time. Because as I said, the expense you really want to avoid is the vacancy expense.
Yep. Very good. And what other revenue sources have you found besides the rent itself?
Well, to be a little bit redundant and go back to it, the better you can do at keeping the property filled and the money that you can recapture from vacancy is always going to do a phenomenal job at keeping your owners happy, at pushing up your net operating income. And then, depending on the property, you can look to some auxiliary sources of income. So on a lot of our apartment buildings, we do put in air card readers for the washer and dryer. So your laundry income is significant there. I think if you've got an apartment building, you should always look at how you're paying for parking. There should be a charge that goes along with that. And then as you manage it as well, one of the things that we talked about earlier was when you go back and you see the property and you tour the property on a regular basis and you inspect it, that you're holding the tenants accountable to their lease. So if there have been damages, that you are documented and you are organized enough to have the tenants bear their financial responsibility, which then helps minimize your expenses and pushes up your NOI.
Yep. That makes sense. So you don't want to be having to pay for things that the tenant is responsible for doing. Want to hear more on this topic? Click the link below for the full episode of Maximizing Your Property Value.